legal matters and elections. So, Eileen, if you want to come up for that.
Okay, under legal matters, I just want to mention something we've talked about a couple of times, which is the Corporate Transparency Act. That's another statute that was passed this year, which would require all associations to provide identifying information to the federal government of their board members. We have really not spent a lot of time on this because there was a lawsuit that was filed, and a Supreme Court case decided on behalf of a small business group that said this is overreach on the part of the federal government. CAI kept promising to file a lawsuit. They did finally file that lawsuit, and they're looking for an injunction, and that should be heard on October 11th. So if they're not successful getting that injunction, I'll send something out to everyone because the deadline is December. But our recommendation right now is to sit and wait, because we do think there'll be an injunction issued, and eventually associations may become exempt from that Corporate Transparency Act. If they have to file, the process itself is pretty simple to do. It's just we'd like to avoid that, because already lake associations have a hard time getting volunteers and asking them for their personal identifying information, including their driver's license or their passport, is going to make that all the more complicated. I wanted to mention, follow up on something John said about the dam loan is also available for dredging. For the past 2 rounds of dam funding, the entire loan amounts were not taken. So that may change at any time. At any time you could have a big dam come in and take up all of the funding, but there's money available. So this is, if there was a time to apply, this would be it. But again, there's no guarantee, because the dams are a public safety and public policy issue, and they'll always come ahead of the dredging projects. And then my last thing is elections. So the elections are going to be held at the next COLA meeting on October 26th. Thankfully, many of the board members who are currently serving have agreed to serve going forward, but I know we're going to have at least 2 trustee positions open, and so we're encouraging people to volunteer to run for those positions. And again, talking a little bit about what we talked about earlier, NJCOLA has a long list of things it would like to accomplish, but we know that our volunteers are also volunteers at their own lake associations, as well as people who are working and have families and everything else. So we certainly appreciate the participation of the association members who come to these meetings, and we would encourage you to volunteer to be on the NJCOLA board. We have 4 membership meetings a year. We have a planning meeting in January, and we usually have about 4 board meetings a year, kind of the plan for our membership meetings. So if anyone is interested, just send me an email, let me know. I'm going to send an email out on Constant Contact for anyone. You can just respond to that. If you don't know, I guess the other thing is, Kathy asked me to give the treasurer's report. There is currently $9,935.41 in the NJCOLA account. There are 47 members, which is less than what we typically have this year, but she said she usually sends a reminder out to the associations for anyone who hasn't paid. If you don't know whether your lake is paid, sometimes there's a disconnect, because people who come to this meeting are not the person writing the check for the lake. So if you don't know if your lake is paid, there is a list in the back showing everyone that has paid. And if you come to the meetings and feel like you're getting a lot of benefit for your lake, you may want to encourage your board to actually join and become members, and that will help across the board for our planning purposes. And that's it. Anyone have any questions for me? Thanks. Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Just a quick question. Are realtors, since this is considered law, are realtors required to disclose the current consequences, perhaps, of purchasing a home on a lake?
My
Whether it's
understanding,
man-made or natural?
right, so my understanding of what realtors are, is not really even so much a realtor's disclosure requirement as it is the seller's disclosure requirement, and again, this isn't my area of law. And under the list of the seller's disclosure, which, by the way, you're not required to sign, but most sellers do if they're being represented by a realtor, is something about, is there a homeowners association and are dues required? But there's nothing else in there about the you know, how the homeowners association works. So what they were talking about earlier is, we think that mortgage companies might start looking at that as a follow-up. But to answer your question, right now, there's no mandatory disclosure of all of what is required, you know, when you live in a community that has a homeowners association in it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. And before we close, this is a feedback moment. We'd like to ask the members here, what are the topics would you like to see in future general meetings like this? Like, just show up in the back, yes.
It has nothing to do with the topic, but it's something, could we get a map of all of the lakes that are part of COLA, so that, you know, if we have to talk to another lake, we know where everybody is? Is it possible to put that together?
Okay, I'll bring it up at the next board meeting. Okay, yeah.
There's a list on the website.
A list, that's a list, but is it a map or is it?
It's not a map, but at least you have some contact information there of all our members.
Okay. All right. Other input? Yes.
I'm curious, I'm assuming everyone here are part of their board, but does anyone have a management agent that helps run things versus that you guys all being part of it? I didn't mean to be funny, I'm sorry. I came from an association in Westchester County, New York, that was a homeowners association, and we had a management agent that made everything much easier. Not as be, of course, with that. But is that something that would be of interest, or does it, I guess no one here has that?
Anybody here have a management agent running? Are we all volunteers?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But Noah has one too. I mean, a lot of the bigger lakes, I don't like that term. A lot of the bigger lakes do have, you know, staff. They have a general manager and other staff there. But I would say probably 80% of the NJCOLA, you know, organizations are just run by volunteers.
The one that, again, I'm sorry to bring something, the one that I had back in Westchester County, her name, she basically ran a bunch of other associations. So she just worked for us,
Right.
but she helped other associations with the same problem, such as communication, such as they were the main source of emails and communication versus, I mean, how many of you love getting emails from your association members that are all mad and angry? We get those, and that person would take care of that. But I guess I'm.
No, I think, no, I know of at least 2 lakes that have management companies that do their billing and do their notices for their meetings. I think it's less common because the lakes have more unique management issues.
Right.
So it's almost more common to have, you know, somebody whose job it is just to run that lake. But I know of at least a couple that have management companies, but I can't even say that those management companies are doing a lot more other than keeping the membership roster, sending the billing out, that kind of stuff.
Yes, over here.
The treasurer at our lake, Lake Iosco, has asked if New Jersey COLA could be helpful in facilitating lake treasurers to be in touch with each other about best practices or improvements or just communicating with each other about tricks and tips and.
All right, I think we could probably do that through the website. If we add it to the website, treasurer's contact information.
Okay.
Would that solve that?
Who should I talk to?
You just did. Thank you. Over there.
Yeah, just, I think with that young lady's question and the map question, I just looked onto the website and the lakes are there, but we have a name, like the person that shows up, the name and an email and a phone number. Could you add that? So that's the missing link. I know when I first started coming years ago, I asked that question, and it was like asking the tables, what's the privacy concerns, and at least it's involved now you have the lakes names, but some of the lakes, like I'm in Basin Lakes, if you go to our website, you can see the trustees, but not all the lakes even have websites, so, you know, I know there's always a privacy concern, maybe let people opt out, but I think that would answer her question and the map question. That's the missing link really, to find somebody you have, you know, I mean, in today's world, it's usually possible, but it's not easy always. And my prior lake up in Sussex County was 11 homes, we had nothing, we had dam, and we certainly didn't have a website.
Okay, respecting the privacy thing, I think we can, at our next board meeting, I think what we'll do is see if we can get the lakes who want to volunteer the information of the main contact and the treasurer as an example. And if someone chooses not to, then we'll leave that blank and we'll just leave it. Good. Yes.
You started off asking for topics for future meetings.
Yes.
So the two, from Cedar Lake, and we'd like to see more on watershed issues and how to, and various degrees of watershed issues from just road runoff to whatever. And the second would be rain gardens.
Okay, good.
It would be on the rain garden issue. Not only would it be nice to, you know, I know you do that periodically, but to talk about rain gardens and how to get it all going, but also resources for us to, you know, to go to if we want to help.
It's interesting that you brought up those two topics. At Cupsall Lake, we did a watershed study through Princeton Hydro. It was a $100,000 study. As a result of the study, we actually got grant money for a rain garden, and the rain garden was over $100,000. And that's because we had a school in the watershed of one of our lakes. So the combination of the school and the lake, made it a home run. And actually, the Princeton Hydro study suggested that there's a home run right there. So.
Well, we did that presentation, so that, I don't know if that's online that you can look back at, because we did have that presentation of the project in Princeton here last year. So you might be able to access that online.
Good.
The study was paid by Highlands, right? You guys.
Yes, it was a Highlands grant. Yes.
As far as the privacy with the treasurer and the other stuff, you can also make that part of the survey. If they want to volunteer their information, you can have to put it right on the survey.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, with regards to that also, some of the lake communities like myself, we have an office, contact through the office, and they can get personal objects and stuff.
Okay.
If every office with their email on whatever.
All right, thank you.
Liz Keeney with Beasley. I appreciated the roundtable discussions that we had a few meetings ago. I'm not sure if it was like 2 years ago. I thought that was very helpful, so if we could bring that back, I
Good.
appreciate it. And also a way that we can kind of group for roundtable discussions to compare similar lakes, right? Because some issues that are important that much bigger lakes could do are maybe not as important to smaller lakes and things like that. So.
That's a good point. Yeah. All right. Over here.
So just looking around the room, looking at the turnout we don't get for our volunteer days, what different lakes are doing to get volunteers to come out to do work days to avoid spending money. We're glad to do.
Okay. Is there another? If not, I want to thank you for a very active session and for very good participation. Thank you very much.